Greetings, Summoners. Cosmic here, and welcome back to another Battle Spirits Saga video. And today we have the top 8 list from Brisbane, and I will add the small disclaimer. Yes, these will eventually all get onto Eggman's website, but he's been busy with other stuff, so I will leave a temporary link below while we wait for him to get updated. And there was also the Pasadena event, which happened this same weekend, and spoiler, Red won both events, but we do not have those top 8 lists yet, so I will be doing another video sometime later in the week when those lists get released. But Set 3 is off to an amazing start. I don't know if you've been watching the market and just the player interaction and watching these top 8 lists. Like, there has been so much good news with these top 8s and with Set 3 in general that, like, new players are actually entering the game. There was actually one that was featured on stream and talked about how they had new players at their locals. Set 3 is actually making stores money if they open the product for singles, because guess what? Jaeger, Genbu, and Viper are like out of stock or very low stock at this time, and it was like PPG that was standing alone giving us more stock. So like, people are buying cards. Set 3 is amazing. This meta is insane, and I'm so excited that we finally have excitement other than, you know, me enjoying the game and getting to cover it and whatnot. But it seems like for the first time, there's actually positive momentum for the game. And I could not be more excited because this is just the start. We know how good Set 4 is going to be. So please, Papa Bandai, if you got a good roadmap, we need that ASAP, please, to keep this momentum going leading into Worlds and then, of course, the next Grand Open. I have heard rumors, and I can't say anything more than what I'm about to say, that year 2 Grand Opens are already getting confirmed in terms of like location and stuff like that, but there hasn't been any confirmation beyond that in terms of like pricing. Are we going to have this like what weird 1 month delay because Set 4 got pushed back, right? There's a lot of speculation going on, but in the end, these lists are spicy. Set 3 is hype. Stores are actually making money if they were lucky and open singles while people needed them, because Mandala is still selling for $20, which is crazy. But this is a sign of good things to come. So up first, we have Wei, who run with Red Midrange, and also huge shout out to Ryan Matas, who won the Pasadena event with also Red Midrange, it turned out. And both these players will be coming onto the channel for a champion interview, which I'll be super excited to get to do. Mostly because Wei I had the pleasure to meet at Pro Tour 1, and it'd be really nice to actually shine some spotlight on the Oceania and Australia areas, because it's not like we get to have a lot of, you know, communication with the player base from that side. So I was really excited that he was able to agree. We're gonna get a champion interview together, talk about some of the scene and how things have been going in Australia with some of the Grand Opens, right? They had, I think it was like 54 players for their last event before this one and 47 for this one. So about the same number, all things considered. But it would be interesting to hear more about the background story about how things are growing. You know, there's definitely been some extra work that's been happening at the LGS level. Just some good things overall, but it's a region that I know a lot of us don't have good visibility into. So I'm hoping by bringing on our champion from the Brisbane event that they can talk about a little bit more and talk about their choices. So I know I didn't get to do a video on the Netherlands Grand Open because I was traveling and I was coming back and all that, but why Red, right? So we saw the rise of Genbu and Fable Beast, and shocker, nothing has changed from the Set 1 dynamic of, oh, if yellow is doing well, play red and just counter the bloody blazes out of it, right? So especially in this list, you can really feel it. We have 4 Andromeda, we have 2 Feral Slash, and 3 Burning Force. That is 9 Nexus removal main deck that just crushes yellow. And also keep in mind that Andromeda is still going to be able to pop a Spirit, and sometimes that's all you really need to do, as well as having Confront to challenge the board. So after you deal with their Nexuses and they don't have the Blessed Cathedral to try to grind their way back up into that board state that they need, like the yellow needs a lot of stuff on board to work, Andromeda just goes, well, all right, we're playing the fair control game. I'm just a 10k body you can't beat, and I'm going to confront you every turn. Like, sure, you can have a Godslaying, and some lists have been playing some number of like 2 to 3 in a lot of times, but the Andromeda is a 4 of, so sure, you handle the first one, the second one probably kills you all the same, right? Love this list. Otherwise, things like Bearded Eagle, Drago Trooper, you know, Scorch Battlefield, still just a battlefield deck at the end of the day. And of course, Dino Man, those are just good cards. They're going to connect for damage, get use that card draw engine going. But then a huge shout out as well to Camellia Whip, which was a surprising addition with Set 3 because it gets to that 5k BP. It's really nice to just be able to aggressively swing and then turn off things like Hippo from crashing back at you because they're only 4k. I will say a super sweet play that we did get to see from the Pasadena stream, because you think, oh no, Camellia Whip, what happens? What can I do if I can't get over 5k, right? You can just shrink it. I mean, obviously the most obvious answer is Beldegor and just killing it, but you could still do things like Angelic Pressure or Exhaust Nexus, right? Lowering its BP still allows you to get over it, and yellow can be good at that. So it's not like the end-all be-all answer for, just shutting out yellow in terms of those early aggressive plays, but it can kind of set them back quite a bit. And also thinking about things like Ant-Man in the format, right? Yes, they're still ramping, so they probably don't care as much, but you still want to deal that damage with Ant-Man when you can. But at 4K, he is going to be a little lackluster. The other huge pickup from set 3, of course, is Ritual Fire, which was in the sideboard. Some red decks that we've seen from the Pasadena did actually have the main deck as well. And just in general, something from the Netherlands, like this card slaps, right? Just being able to kill 2 things when you have it from burst for 4K does a lot in the early game against a wide variety of decks, it turns out, right? Other than white, right? And when they're going to just be able to play like, oh, hey, here's an elephant or a mammoth, on turn 2 or 3, right? Not as good there. But in general, I think Ritual Fire is a card that we're going to see a lot more of as the meta develops and we have a better idea of what those new BP thresholds are going to be. But overall, just a very strong card. And again, huge shout out to our champion. Moving on from there, we have the runner-up, Sam Woo. And yes, I realize the Key Spirit spot, which is right above me, is meant to be for Curse Dragon because it's going to have the good old core control aspect of it with Bishop and Curse Dragon. But really the thing to note here is that Costume Artist has been insane for purple players. And we've seen this in the Pasadena list. Again, once we get those lists public, I'll definitely make sure to do a video on those as well. But just being able to make sure that you're getting the extra self-sacrifice effects that you want early, you get to draw a card and it has Curse, so it's removing something your opponent never wants to block it. It really just does everything that you want it to do. And it's kind of funny to say it, but in a way, and not completely, but it did kind of power creep, Nemesis for what it wants to be doing, right? A lot of Nemesis strength was being able to get those extra Beldegor activations, getting to draw some card, remove some stuff. Now, obviously, Nemesis does a lot more and can still be a dedicated shell. But when you think about what purple wanted, and a lot of the lists just wanting to set up those early Beldegor plays and early draw engines, Costume Artist just costing 3 comes down way earlier, does so much more for keeping your engine live. And then, of course, when you need it, you can still combo it off of Lamrack, and then you're getting a draw, and you're getting the card back to your hand as well. And I mean, Curse for 2 cores. That's fantastic, right? So Costume Artist, I think, is a card that we will see a lot more of in this set 3 meta as it continues to develop. But overall, I do think that core control is going to be taking a very solid spot in the meta overall. It just, we have to wait and see where those different tech choices come into play. Like we do see the Hippo and the Ant-Man here. We have seen other lists that were just for hippos as well, because turns out blessed is a pretty good keyword if you're not familiar with it. Then, of course, we do have the Spear Angel in the sideboard. It's just a way to try to stunt Gale a little bit. The Maduke for the white control. And then, of course, the special shout out to Pandemium of Dark World 7 just being that really cheeky anti-control card, but then also with Costume Artist, right, we're able to have a reliable self-sacrificing engine. So what I really, really like about Costume Artist as well is it allows you to play a game where you don't always have to sacrifice your deadly balances to get the most value out of things like your Rotting Swamps if you're playing them, because Costume Artist can give you the draw for its effect. It can give you a draw for Rotting Swamp, and then bringing something back to your hand with Lamrack while keeping that spell in your hand can just be so, so important. So I really like this list overall. Again, I think purple is very well positioned for this set 3 meta, but because we've had all these like just rush of events back to back, in Liverpool is this weekend as well, so that's like all the grand opens other than Atlanta just done in a 3-week period. It's going to be wild to see where this goes between, hey, here's all the events, here's like the cutoff period, and then, oh, by the way, here's Atlanta, and this is the format for Worlds as well. So hopefully when we get the TP promos being legal for Atlanta, that might cause a little shakeup as well. Who knows? But I am looking forward to seeing it. And then, of course, I got to give a shout out to the Big Ticks boys as they were, shouting it up in the Discord. They love their Matt and Gold. But this is a very interesting list because it goes all the way back to Gen Con, actually. If you think about where, like, Smag good stuff or Smag piles have been, or like what really started with the Immortal Beldegor and played like a bunch of ramp and Beldegor and all these 4-drops, and Smag just being the good 4-drop that you wanted it to be at that time. it's really interesting to see how these different variations have evolved over time. We also saw like the green smag list that was in, I think it was Monroeville, if I'm not mistaken, one of the grand opens that it didn't make a top cut, but it was in like the X2 bracket, if I remember correctly. It had a lot of smag, it had some Beldegors, like a lot of ramp, a lot of that recursion. But these guys took it one step further. We have the Turbo Rex in the main deck as well, just an absolutely spicy card. We have all the stuff we can pop over it, but in general, right, if you think back to, and even the list that I was trying to shift the green deck that I made top 16 with into more of a ramp deck where it was just like green, white, good stuff, play Elephant. Because spoiler, if you talk to anyone, Elephant is still like the best white card or one of the best white cards for everything that it does. So it was really cool for them to see this list. And, also multiple cores, just it really caught me off guard. I had to read it like 2 or 3 times. But if you're expecting a very heavy When Summon meta, shout out to that. So it could be a good choice. But the thing that you really got to like look at and caught me off guard is there are 0 Nexus in this list, right? And it's so wild. We're going from, we had the depths meta and how important Nexuses are. We have now into set 3 where, 4-cost Nexus is the game. And they just said, you know what? Green has no good Nexus. We don't care. We don't have enough Machine Beast, so we're not going to play the Nomengard City either for the ramp reduction into Elephant. Nah, we're just going to play an honest and fair game. And again, Baculus Curse Dragon does give you a lot of cores too. So you are just able to hard cast this stuff turn after turn. So super spicy list. I love that this is one that continues to pop up at the most random times in different variations of it. But it all comes back to like, here's Beldegor, here's a ramp engine with Smag, and then whatever else you want at the top end. But that's what I really love about Battle Spirits, right? As we talk about, I know a lot of people with One Piece, they're talking about like a new tier 0 meta because only one color is good and all this stuff because you're color locked. And there's rumors that Fusion World might follow the same thing because it is more casual friendly. And I get that. But with Battle Spirits and Battle Spirits Saga, you really do get rewarded for making decks like this, the Penta Smag as it were, that if you want to make a 6-color deck, you absolutely can. And I actually had a 6-color K deck I played this weekend that, I don't know, I might play it for Atlanta if I'm being perfectly honest, because I think it's just super fun to play. And I'm not sure yet, but we do have that flexibility, and I truly, truly love the game for that reason. And then, again, huge shout out to Nick and those guys. Love this list, and really great to see the innovation popping up in top 4. Now, of course, the big one to talk about from Netherlands, and making a shout out here to the big boy Genbu. And I definitely remember how much of a hard time I got for people being like, nah, Genbu's not enough. Fable Beast will never be good. And then it just did insanely well in these past couple of events because turns out unblockable and then restanding is very good in combination with blessed because you're just able to get ahead on life while slowly chipping them out. That said, as we've clearly seen with Brisbane and of course with the Pasadena list that we'll keep talking about, but we'll get to them eventually when they're available, just red crushes you so hard and there's just nothing you can do to make that matchup good. However, you do have a lot more game against all other decks in the field now, which is really nice. But that said, we did actually see a Nova deck, we saw a Dragno King deck, and we saw a Trident Dragon deck as well. So people were very excited to play red this past weekend, at least for Pasadena. So you have to keep in mind that maybe it's just red is a fan favorite, and you might just see a lot of it in the field, and you're going to have a really bad time if that's the case. However, we did see another Genbu list making top 8, and this is fairly stock, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to make the most value out of both Phantasmal Paradise, that is your early setup engine, so you want to be playing a large number of Fable Beasts, continue to draw cards, go through your deck, find the Genbu, and then of course Genbu at the top end just being the key spirit that we've really wanted, and it does make our guys unblockable for when we really want them to be. Now, the one thing I will say, and this is something I've gone back to an earlier video, that I just absolutely love playing a one of Michaela in yellow list, because oftentimes when you get ahead on board and you're getting to start to set up, because yellow, once you get the pieces going and you have a couple Blessed Cathedral triggers, you just combo off a bunch of spirits on the board like there's no tomorrow. And as long as they're not playing purple, you get to combo off, set up this crazy board, and then next turn windmill slam a Michaela for 5 or 6, and spoiler, it's going to find you some of those magic cards that you really wanted. Just finding extra Absolute Ice Shields can be really important when you're in this kind of like unblockable race down, especially if they're on like white controlled Derm Dinos, or if you're in the mirror match or something, right? So finding those extra spells can be very important. That said, I really do think that we want to see 4 Genbu at all times going forward, But again, this is one thing that we'll just have to wait and see how the meta reacts and how things get shifted going forward into, again, there's Liverpool this weekend and then Atlanta later on. But overall, love this list. Very solid, fairly stock from what we'd expect to see and how we've seen Fable Beast kind of evolve over set 1 and set 2, but very good nonetheless, and one that I think that even with the rise of red this past weekend, I think we will see more yellow players making top cut in the very near future. And then, of course, we have a Gale deck, because what is a set 3 top 8 without Gale? And I want to give a shout out. There was actually 2 different Gale decks that all made it to the top 8 spot. However, this one was a little bit spicier, so I want to give the shout out to Anthony, who had the Elephants main deck, and also Lightning Arrow, because Lightning Arrow is just flash. You can stop a spirit from attacking or blocking, and this is one that's come up quite a few times and has actually been interesting. When I was in the Netherlands, I saw quite a few games where like Lightning Arrow just really came down on a key turn and shut off their opponent's plays. And I had imagined that Anthony had a very similar run with it, where you just get to stick the lightning arrow on a key turn. You go, sorry, that's not how this is going to go out. And then you just get the massive crackback. Other than that, things like Strong Draw and Floodstream, right? You have the control pieces. We know the Void Lord is just absolutely insane. We've seen it on stream time and time again, where if Gale stabilizes and you have a tap down board, they go, all right, you got to have the Ice Shield or Dream Bomb or you're just dead. And personally, I love that. I love that we're finally getting these very high impact spirits, but I do hope we get to see some other stuff get to develop within set 4 as we think about how double symbols are going to play a role, right? Because we have this guy that is very, very good and technically a single symbol, even if it does deal multiple points of damage. So you have to ask the question of, if we got this guy in set 3, what on earth are we getting in set 4? What is Bondi cooking for the double symbols? But I'm very excited. Again, huge shout out to all of top 8. So with that, that is a quick recap video of all the lists. Again, I will have the full top 8 lists themselves in the pinned comment below while we're waiting for them to get updated on Eggman's website, which will be in the near future. And also when Pasadena gets, public and it gets signed off on and I can make a video on it, I absolutely will. But I am so excited that we're getting to see an insane shakeup, just kind of week after week, event to event with set 3, and can only spell good things for set 3 and going forward. So with that, my friends, I'm very excited to wrap this up and dive more into Battle Spirit Saga videos again soon here. I'm back. I'm very excited. Set 3 is super hype. But with that, take care of yourself. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.